Good evening. I'm Elizabeth Davis. What you are about to hear tonight is not opinion, it is not political theater, and it is not speculation about something that might happen in the future. It is a crisis unfolding right now in real time across California's highways, fuel corridors, ports, and supply chains, and its consequences extend far beyond the state's borders. After more than 4.5 years of legal warfare, the trucking industry has lost a decisive court battle in California. The result is already reshaping the movement of goods across the United States. As of today, approximately 70,000 independent truckers are being forced out of California. Not next year, not next month, not eventually. This is happening now. If you care about supply chains, the cost of food and fuel, or the stability of American commerce, stay with me, because what we are covering tonight affects every single person watching. The exodus begins. The warning signs appeared quietly at first. Dispatch centers across California lit up within hours of the court's decision. By the end of the first 72 hours, carrier offices statewide had entered what many described internally as crisis mode. One of the first major companies to sound the alarm was Landstar, one of the most respected names in freight logistics in the United States. Landstar did not issue vague warnings. It did not hedge its language. It sent urgent advisories to its entire network of owner-operators with a message that was direct and unmistakable. California had become a liability. Under the new legal reality, carriers faced immediate exposure to audits, fines, and retroactive penalties reaching back several years. The risk was not hypothetical. It was measurable, enforceable, and financially devastating. For drivers who had spent decades building relationships with California shippers, the message landed like a punch to the chest. Stay and risk financial ruin, or leave and abandon everything you've built. Inside trucking offices, the conversation changed overnight. This was no longer about negotiating rates or finding the next load. It was about survival. Other carriers quickly followed. Some quietly removed California freight from their load boards. Others warned drivers to avoid any shipment originating in the state. Phones that once rang constantly for owner-operators went silent. One driver described it this way: "One week I'm hauling produce out of the Central Valley. The next week, nothing." This was not panic. It was calculation. Risk managers and corporate attorneys ran the numbers and reached the same conclusion. It was better to lose California business now than face six-figure penalties later. Companies did not wait for enforcement letters to arrive. They left first. The law behind the collapse. To understand how California reached this moment, we need to go back to Assembly Bill 5, commonly known as AB 5. Signed into law in September 2019, AB 5 introduced what is called the ABC test, a legal standard used to determine whether a worker is an independent contractor or an employee. To qualify as an independent contractor, a worker must pass all three prongs of the test. Prong A requires freedom from company control. Most owner-operators meet this easily. They choose their routes, manage their schedules, and maintain their own equipment. Prong C requires operating an established trade or business. Again, truckers qualify. Many invest hundreds of thousands of dollars into rigs, permits, insurance, and maintenance. But Prong B is where everything collapses. Prong B requires that the work performed be outside the usual course of the hiring company's business. For trucking, this requirement is impossible. Hauling freight is the business of trucking companies. Under California Labor Code Section 2775, the moment an owner-operator hauls a load for a carrier, the law presumes that driver is now an employee. There is no negotiation, no flexibility, no acknowledgement of how trucking actually works. Other professions saw this coming and secured exemptions. Doctors, insurance brokers, real estate agents, engineers. Truckers did not. For 70,000 owner-operators, Prong B does not function as a legal guideline. It functions as a locked door with no key. Entrepreneurs, not employees. These drivers are not gig workers. They are not looking for employee status. They are small business owners. Many drive rigs worth $150,000 or more, financed through savings, family loans, and years of sacrifice. They cover every cost themselves: fuel, insurance, maintenance, engine rebuilds. Assembly Bill 5 does not threaten a job. It dismantles entire businesses overnight. The law offers only two choices: become an employee and surrender independence. Leave California entirely. For most, the decision is already made. They are leaving. And when they go, they take their trucks, their expertise, and their economic contribution with them. California is not losing employees. It is losing entrepreneurs. The cost to carriers. For carriers, Converting contractors into employees is not a simple paperwork change. It means absorbing payroll taxes, health insurance, workers' compensation, paid leave equipment, maintenance, fuel costs. For a single truck, the added burden can reach tens of thousands of dollars per year. Multiply that across dozens or hundreds of drivers, and the math collapses. Most small and mid-sized carriers cannot afford it, and most owner-operators refuse it. They did not build businesses to become employees again. So the system breaks. A second crisis, fuel stations shutter. As the trucking exodus accelerated, another crisis hit. On January 1st, 473 gas stations across California permanently closed. The cause, Senate Bill 445, a mandate requiring underground fuel storage tank upgrades costing up to $2 million per site. For small family-owned stations, the cost was impossible. The state promised assistance through a support program, but bureaucratic delays stalled funding for years. Meanwhile, fines for noncompliance reached $15,000 to $20,000 per day. Owners had no path forward, so they closed. Rural communities were hit hardest. Stations that served as the only fuel source for 20 to 30 miles disappeared overnight. For truckers still operating in California, fuel planning became a survival exercise. Routes once dotted with stations every 10 miles now stretched 50 miles or more without fuel. Emergency responders felt it too. Fire trucks and ambulances in rural counties now drive 30 miles just to refuel, adding critical minutes to response times. Refineries go dark. Then came the refinery closures. In October 2025, Phillips 66 shut down its Los Angeles refinery, eliminating 139,000 barrels per day. 6 months later, Valero announced the closure of its Benicia facility, removing another 145,000 barrels per day. Together, that is more than 17% of California's refining capacity gone in under a year. Refineries are the backbone of diesel supply. When they close, fuel availability shrinks, prices rise, and supply chains lose flexibility. Any disruption, a pipeline issue, a delayed tanker, becomes a crisis. The ports begin to buckle. The final pressure point is the ports. The ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach handle nearly 40% of all U.S. containerized imports. They depend entirely on trucks. But fewer trucks are showing up. Containers are stacking higher. Dwell times are increasing. Shipping companies are rerouting contracts to Texas and the East Coast. Ports in Houston, Savannah, and Newark are expanding aggressively. They see opportunity, and they are moving fast. A perfect storm. This is not one bad policy. It is a collision of many. AB 5 forces out truckers. SB 445 closes fuel stations. Refinery shutdowns cut supply. Ports lose capacity. Each decision made independently. Together, they form a perfect storm. California moves 40% of America's imports. There is no margin for error, and the margin is gone. The question that remains: this is not a temporary disruption. It is a structural shift. Once supply chains relocate, they rarely return. The question is not whether damage has been done. It has. The question is whether California will recognize the scale of this crisis before it becomes permanent. For the 70,000 truckers already gone, the answer no longer matters. They are not coming back. I'm Elizabeth Davis. If this report was valuable, share it with anyone who cares about the future of American logistics, because this story is not over. It is just beginning.